I've got the screen there.
Hey, there we go.
I clicked that off. Now I've got you on there where it had
That's
How
what we
about
want.
their screen. Yeah, I clicked that
What
off.
we want. Thanks,
There we
Bob.
are.
Okay, we're good.
Oh, well, thanks. I got there. You know, last week we had a deal that for the Vietnam veterans. Hi, Michael.
Bob, you've changed through the years.
I tell you, these things, I'm kind of like Vic. We need a 12-year-old sitting here with us. But we had a deal for we honored Vietnam veterans. We had a little deal up at the Veterans Memorial for them and everything, and then had sort of a little small lunch and everything and refreshments over at the VFW. There was about 60 of them there.
Whoa, great.
And we finally got 2 or 3 of them to speak up and stuff. And it was really a nice deal. We didn't have a lot of time to come on with it to get it fixed up, but we're going to have it every year. And I was messing around with the deal there that the lady gave me some stuff of all the veterans that were killed out of Crawford County, dating back to the Civil War, Spanish American War, World War I, World War II, Korea and Vietnam and Iraq. And I was looking through there and I didn't have the Everett Mason name on there.
Oh, shoot.
So I had this good woman back there that she always gets on the computer and everything and stuff. And she came up with this deal. I'll read it to you and everything stuff.
Yeah.
That Everett Mason was lost at sea during World War II.
Oh.
That he was on the USS Langley carrying planes to Australia in 1942 when his ship was bombed by the Japanese. There were casualties, but the ship was so badly damaged, all hands abandoned ship and were picked up with the USS Edsel and the USS Whitney and were transferred to the oiler ship, the USS Pecos. And on March the 2nd, the Pecos was bombed and all hands had to abandon ship. And the Japanese strafed the survivors in the water and then flew off and left them to die. A few survivors were picked up by them that the estimated 700 lives were lost that day and everything. But he was the first casualty from Crawford County. And I thought, I didn't know whether you knew that or not, Bob.
I did not know that.
No. Bob Mason, did you know that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I just thought maybe you might be interested in that.
Is he kin to Everett Mason?
Yeah. That-
Bob,
He
are
was-
you kin to Everett Mason, Bob?
Yeah, he's my uncle.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
He was my dad's youngest brother, and
yeah.
he graduated from Leavenworth High School, I think in 38, and went into the Navy.
Hmm.
And he was in active duty when the war started.
He was 23 years old when he was killed. And thanks. Another thing that was kind of interesting in that and stuff that she gave me that on the deal, there were 83 men that were killed in the Civil War and 2 in the Spanish American, 16 in World War I, 39 in World War II, 3 in Korea, 4 in Vietnam, and 2 in Iraq.
Well,
And those deals that I knew of 8 guys that was killed in World War II with Robert Duggins and Elmo and Ralph Gillen and William Goins, Virgil Johnson, Bethel Parks, Bernie Searles, Ralph Starr, and Charles Stroud. I think that Charles Stroud, I knew him as Jake. But when we were kids, he was a little older. He would kind of let us roll a cigarette out of his stack of Bull Durham.
And Bob, do you have the names of the Civil War veterans that died?
Yeah, I have
Oh,
them.
do you? Oh, that's great information.
Yeah, that I have them all and everything on that. I have all of them, but the ones I gave you in the war, I have their names on this sheet. The veteran service officer fixed it up and gave it to me.
Wonderful.
And I thought it was, it was interesting. I thought you guys might be interested in it, and I'd never really heard all of them and everything.
I remember when the 2 Gillen brothers were buried. I think did you do taps, Bob, that day?
Yeah, they were buried here in English. Yeah, I attended their funeral.
Yep, I did too. And I picked up some of the shell casings, and their mother contacted my dad and said she'd like to have those shell casings. So I gave them to my dad, and they went back to her, Mary, I believe was her name.
Yeah, anymore we sack up a deal of them and give them to whoever wants them and stuff. Have 21 because there's 7 of them, and they fire 3 times.
Yeah.
A lot of times in that high grass that we can't find all of them. So the commander always has about 10 or 12 extra cartridges has been fired. And if we don't have enough, well, he takes them, adds them up. So to give it. Oh, he's kind of frozen there for a while, Vic.
Yeah, it was.
Stuff.
Okay, I've got a picture I want to show.
Okay.
See if we recognize any of these people. Now, you want higher or lower?
Higher.
Raise it up. Raise it higher. Now,
Yeah, I got that picture.
you were on the main screen, and now you're not.
I have the picture.
Oh, there you go. The faces are rather blank. Maybe take it away, pull it back a little bit, see what happens.
Mr. Mason,
That's
who's that
better.
guy on the
Raise it up a little bit. Raise it up a little. Raise it up. No, it's just, and one looks like Joe Tyler, but I'm not for sure.
Yep, that's
Edsel.
But you can't,
that's Joe Tyler.
their faces are all blank.
That's
Is one of them Denny Haycox?
yep. Back in
Okay.
the upper left corner, that's Denny Haycox.
But I can't, we can't make out most.
I believe
to their
that's a
faces.
Mason boy over to the far left.
Who is it?
How about-
Bob Mason.
Yeah, I think I was in that picture.
Yep, there you are.
Isn't this the far left, Ralph Edelman?
Yes, it is. And in front, there's me, Joe Tyler,
Yeah, you're between them and Joe Tyler.
Jeannie Bunk McMail, Ronnie Dembo, and Merle Stevenson.
Earl Stevens is okay.
Second row kneeling is Ralph Edelman and Bob Mason. The upper row is Denny Haycox, next to Doris B. Ferguson, Mary Edith Brown, Della Mae Starr, and Ronald Bennett. The coach in the
catch-
back, you can barely see him, George Hester Megenity. And you know what? I never saw my dad ever shoot a basketball, but
Yeah.
Judy Bunk is holding the trophy we won for the county tourney that year, 47-48. I was hoping Della Mae might be on there today. I tell you what, she was a pretty good looking girl.
Looked like all those girls pretty good looking.
They were, yeah. I had a crush on Doris B. Ferguson, probably in the 4th, 5th grade, but she never knew it. I didn't tell her.
Hey, I sent the obituary for Wanda Gale.
Yeah, I meant to mention her. You know, they had her funeral at Georgetown and she was buried at Eckerty. So I went down to the Eckerty Cemetery and waited until they showed up. And after the funeral and stuff, I talked to Robin and his younger brother. And his younger brother was walking up. And I told him, I said, Etzel Tyler will never be dead as long as you're alive. Because he was a spitting image of it.
Yeah. Well, I did not know that Wanda had passed away. I'm sorry to hear that. I really am.
Well, Bob put it on Facebook.
Yeah.
That's where I picked it up at. I don't know where he picked it up at.
I sent,
Where did you get it, Bob?
I checked the Gilboa Royce website almost daily.
Hmm.
I was surprised that, well, you know why she was buried at Eckerty?
No,
Um,
maybe his mom and dad was buried there. I don't know. I don't know where Ted was buried. I didn't look around for any, tombstones or anything. Stuff. There were about 7 cars that came down there from Georgetown. And a guy was telling me he works out at the golf course. And he said 7 cars pulled in there about 4:30 and said they stayed until after 7. And I said, did you sell a lot of drinks? And he said, no, we never sold a drink.
Oh,
Because both of those boys were preachers
yeah, that's right.
and stuff.
Bob, are they going to do any more to the veterans area there in English, where the cannon is and all that?
Well, they have the bricks that they sell yet. And the veterans officer said something about it at that meeting, but said she didn't sell any bricks, but they're still on sale and things if anybody would want to, buy one, have it put down and things.
Yeah.
And we're still working on Old Man English. I don't know whether we'll get that job done or not.
I'd love to see him up there because no one much sees him down there in the old park. Golfers might see him, they'd see his backside, and that's about it.
I think the problem is where the statue sits on a monument, and I think that monument sits on a square
Yeah.
of, and I don't know what is underneath there, whether it's concrete or what. And whether they could move the upper monument and the statue on one deal, I'm not for sure.
There's
Dale Rowe cleaned up the cannon real well. And he messaged something that he could use to clean up the statue if we ever got it up there.
yeah. Well, Mike Benham as the town council president, is he interested at all in getting it moved up there?
Oh, I guess he would be. He's got so many things he does.
Yeah, I know.
and everything because he's fire chief, and any fire run we have, and last year I think it was 360, and he has to send a report in on the Facebook.
Wow.
He has to call dispatch and find out all the deals when they were, how many people went on it, and how many vehicles were involved, and there's a lot of things involved and things, and just doing that with the fire department. And then he's got all the stuff with the town where he's president on. He has his own business, and he still has the farm down there that Curdy had. He's
Oh, yeah.
on that, yeah. And he's pretty well covered up, and he goes to almost every fire.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he'd have a lot of time to spend with him, but he would be in favor of it.
I would think. You know, I want to tell you a real quick story. Last Friday, 2 days ago, I always work at the Fire Museum in Jeffersonville every Friday. And 3 men and a lady came in, and I talked to this lady. They were from Indianapolis, and she said, well, I'm moving out of Indianapolis. It's too crowded. I said, well, where are you moving? She said, well, I've found a town that doesn't have pollution. Everybody's so friendly. I've been there 3 or 4 times, and I've bought me a place in that town, and I'm going to move there. I said, where is that place? She said, well, you've probably never heard of it, English, Indiana. Now, a lot of people have moved away from English, Indiana, but she's moving from it. I said, do you have any relatives around in English? No. And I said, where are you moving? She said, well, you know where they had the old jail and they tore it down? I said, yeah. She said, you go past that and go just a little bit up that hill off to the right. There must be a house there someplace that I'm not aware of. She said, I bought that and a few acres. And I said, well, I grew up just 200 or 300 yards from that area. So she's going to be, she said, you know, they've got a supermarket there and 2 places two restaurants, one at the golf course and one on the highway. So she was tickled to death to be able to move to English, Indiana.
Has she moved yet?
No, she's retiring from some organization in Indianapolis, and she's going to move sometime this summer.
Well, you know, Phyllis Scott lived in the house just to the right of there. And then Bob Brown had a house up to the top of a hill.
Yeah.
And head out there a little bit where, well, Red Mathers lived, but Charles Eastridge owned that out there. And
I've got her name and address. I may have her phone number, and I'll try to inquire a little bit more. And maybe you could give her a welcome when she comes to English.
true.
Yeah.
Was she coming down by herself? Was her family with her or what?
The way she talks, she's by herself. Now, I didn't go into a lot of details with her, but she kept saying I instead of we.
Yeah,
Michael?
that was unusual.
Very unusual. Yeah. When she said English, Indiana, and I said, wait a minute, I'm from English, Indiana. And you know, if we really think about it, most all of us are from English, Indiana. We still don't live in English. Bob, you do, and I admire you for staying in English. If I could have made a living in English, I would have stayed too.
Well, the rest of you had to eat.
That's right. That's right. Now, John, I don't think would trade where he is for English, Indiana. I don't think.
I'm afraid I think of English as a nice place that used to be a nice place to visit.
A nice place to visit. That's right.
See the old people that you remember from your childhood, the ones that are left.
Yeah, that's right.
Fewer and fewer.
Yeah. This picture a few minutes ago that we were looking at, Jeannie Bunk, Ron Dembo, Merle Stevenson, Ronnie Bennett, Denny Haycox, Ralph Edelman, George B. Ferguson. They're all gone. Now they're the only ones that are left is Mary Edith, Della Mae, that Mason boy, me, and that's about it. Oh, Joe Tyler. That's it.
Wow.
I spoke to Joe. He was there at the funeral and stuff. And
Well, I'll have breakfast with Joe this Wednesday. One Wednesday a month, we get together and have breakfast.
he wasn't getting around very good.
Well, I tell you what, he got the COVID bad. He was down and out for several days. It really knocked him down.
But,
Now he got along okay with Wanda Gale, didn't he? Long after Ed had divorced with Wanda Gale, I think he got along okay with her. Michael Pale, what's been going on out your way?
Not much,
Not much.
keeping a low profile.
Keeping a low profile. Okay, that's probably a good idea.
Mike, I thought you'd go to those school board meetings where they're fighting.
Well, now you know, some of you didn't know, but Michael was kind of a celebrity back about 50 years ago. He was on national TV. I'm pretty sure I saw him.
Oh, yeah.
He was at the Watergate hearings, weren't you, Michael?
On the Watergate Committee, that's correct.
That's right.
Just added, he had a major role in it. He was the one that would carry information to the senators that were testifying. They'd say, "Oh, and I need this paper," and Mike Flanigan would be announced, and he'd get up and go down and present the paper to him.
That's right.
Yeah, we watched him we were watching it from Samoa, and it was on the news, but we always got the news a week late.
Oh, shoot.
Somebody from Honolulu there was a plane that came down once a week, and they'd bring the tapes down, and so we'd get it a week later. And Mike was in the upper left hand, sitting right behind Senator Inouye, our senator from Hawaii.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, we remember that very well.
did he represent anyone, or he was just on there by himself? Or
No, he was a representative from the government printing office, and it was his job to get the testimony. As I remember it, Mike, you can correct me. The testimony of the day, he would get it over to the government printing office, get the type all set, get it all printed, get it all bound, put in book, and in the hands of the senators by the next day. Is that right, Mike?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That was quite a responsibility.
It was, for sure.
you kept pretty good track of your baby brother.
Oh yeah. Famous baby brother. Yeah, right.
Yeah, really.
I say we're kind of missing Beasley. Melvin hadn't been on there yet, or Della Mae. Della Mae wasn't on there last year. Last week. Last
No,
year.
she wasn't.
I wonder if she is sick. Gordon's not on there.
Gordon's not on there. Della Mae, Melvin, don't know.
Ron Kissel?
Yeah,
Ron Kissel has been on for a while.
No. But,
Now, I talked
and
to
Eads isn't on there either. He's normally comes on there. And
who's that, Bob?
Eads,
Oh,
Kenneth
Eads, yeah.
Eads' son.
Yeah, that's right. Eads. Kenny's son. Yes, sir.
But and I didn't get anything else. And I had had those deals on the wars and everything. I thought that was interesting
That was very
and stuff that it was to me. So I finally saw as many as in this Civil War with 83. I thought, my gosh, that's an awful lot, back then to take out of the county
absolutely.
and things and stuff. And
Now,
there
I
wasn't-
believe I've read where Indiana had more volunteers per capita than any other state in the Civil War.
oh,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did not know that.
And I know my great grandfather was in the Civil War, Elijah Frank Megenity. He lived out Brownstown Road. And I kept thinking he volunteered in New Albany. And I thought, how in the world did he get to New Albany? But I saw some old maps in the New Albany Library. And there was a stagecoach route that ran right out Brownstown Road toward Vincennes. So he could get right out there in front of his house and get on the stagecoach and head right on into New Albany.
well, my great grandfather was a Peterson, and he enlisted in New Albany, and he was at Nashville, and he got something wrong with his stomach and these bowels and everything, and he died in the hospital there, and he's buried in Nashville. And had another one, but Pavey, and he was in there, and he was a sergeant. He was my great grandfather. But I had a couple of them that was in the Civil War.
Now I'm going to show you another picture, and it's not going to be real clear, I don't think. But can you see that up or down?
They're
It's pretty good.
picking up just a little bit.
Up.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
but their faces aren't.
No, this is a copy out of a magazine, and this was taken. These are Civil War veterans at the old veterans meeting. You know where that was, Bob? Where they used to meet?
Up to Sloan.
Yeah, up across from sheriff's house,
Yeah.
going up the hill out of English. Past the
they
Sloan house up on the left. There was
They have,
a grove across from Marcus Lane Towels.
okay.
In that grove, that's where they used to always meet. And my dad told me that. Anyway, I can't show you exactly, but my great grandfather is in there. He's right there, I think. He's kind of a tall guy. But the weird thing about this picture is right in the middle of the picture, I'll put my finger right there is a black lady. Now, what in the world is a black lady doing with these soldiers from English Crawford County mostly? Well, her name was Lucy Higgs Nichols, if you can see that there.
Oh, okay.
And she's very, very famous. She was a runaway slave in Bolivar, Tennessee, and she ran away with her little 3-year-old daughter right into the middle of the Indiana 23rd Infantry Regiment, made up mostly of boys from New Albany, Harris County, and Crawford County. So a lot of these boys knew her, and her master came after her the next day, and they wouldn't give her up because she knew how to nurse and clean and cook and sew. So she stayed with the 23rd all the way through the Civil War, the Battle of Vicksburg, the siege of Atlanta, Georgia, Sherman's march to the sea. And when the war finally ended, she went with the Indiana 23rd to Washington, D.C. And we think she was the only black lady that marched down Pennsylvania Avenue with 150,000 Union soldiers. And then she couldn't read or write. And the boys from New Albany said, well, come on back to New Albany. We'll find a place for you. So she spent the rest of her life in New Albany, Indiana, got married, was an upstanding citizen. She was an honorary member of the GAR, Grand Army of the Republic, and she spent her last days in the old county home out on Grant Line Road. Every county had a poor farm, and she wasn't poor, but she outlived everybody that she knew. So that's where she passed away. And we've memorialized her now. She's got a permanent exhibit in the old Carnegie building on Spring Street in New Albany. She was a pretty famous lady. She rode in
What a story.
she rode in the first motorized parade in New Albany, sitting up front with the mayor. I talked to Richard Easter. Do you remember him, Bob?
Yeah, I remember Richard. He
Yes,
was
sir.
a good one to get all the details on Crawford County.
That's right.
I don't know if he ever put that in. I think one time he was writing a book, and I was wondering what happened to maybe parts of that he got, because he was really a good historian.
Yep, he knew all about her coming to English. He said she would stay at the Hazelwood Hotel. Have you ever heard of that? Hazelwood Hotel, I've been told, is where the old VFW was, and it burned down way back in the 1880s or 90s.
Yeah, they had, as we used to go in and walk across that bridge. It's a sort of a swinging bridge went on there. As
Yeah,
soon as you got across that bridge, there was a pit on the right-hand side that filled in, and there was a sulfur well there. And they had boats that, I don't know whether they had the creeks dammed up or what, but it was sort of a small resort.
yeah. Well, she also she started coming to English when the railroad came through, and they finally got the tunnel dug at Edwardsville in the old Airline Railroad, which is it's Norfolk Southern now, I think.
Norfolk
Right.
Southern.
Yeah, she'd ride to English every year for the reunion. Then she would also go north on the Monon Railroad to Salem, Indiana. She knew a lot of those boys at Salem. We found a front page of a Salem newspaper from 1890 that says, Aunt Lucy coming to town. Headlines on the front page. Everybody come out and greet her. So they love that lady.
Wow.
Well, anyway, in my historical sleuthing, there were three of us that went down to Boulevard, Tennessee. We found out all kinds of documents. We found out when she was born, her exact birthday, and they found all kinds of paperwork on her life. And then we took another trip to Mississippi because she was a slave down there at one time. And we went to her birthplace in northern Pennsylvania and got documents from the library there. So we've got her well documented. We know from the time she was born up to when she died. The only thing we don't know is where she's buried. She's buried in the Colored Cemetery. Well, there was only one in New Albany, and I've walked it all over, never found a stone. But the time she died, there was no one around to put a stone up, probably. But Bob, they gave her a military funeral.
Wow.
1920 when she died, a military funeral.
You ever talked to anyone was at that funeral?
That was what?
Did you ever talk to anyone was at that funeral?
No,
There could be some younger person, that would have been there.
Bob, it's been 102 years ago when she died.
Oh, yeah, but she had a military funeral. Who did the military part of it?
I'm sure it was the VFW in New Albany. It could have been GAR 1920. The war had been over for 60 years. Could have been some of those folks.
But you think they would have had a record of it someplace where she was buried?
We thought, well,
Or did you check that out?
Yeah, we've checked it out. The funeral home burned down in about 1945 and burned all the records. It was a smaller funeral home in New Albany. And we've checked every place we could find, and we've never found anything. We checked with the American Legion and the VFW in New Albany, both of them. No records. But if you ever get to New Albany, it's pretty amazing. You go in the front entrance of the Carnegie Center in New Albany, and she's got a permanent special exhibit, and it really takes her through her whole life. And of course, if Bob ever makes it up to New Albany, he's going to come through the Vintage Fire Museum. That goes for all of you. We got the oldest fire truck in America that still works.
Right.
1756, still works.
As you know, we're talking about Old Man English. And I saw a picture the other day someone had that when they were dedicating it, and there's quite a crowd around about on it. And I was thinking possibly that when English took that name and that statue was dedicated, we weren't probably county seat then. There probably wasn't any record much kept of it.
Maybe not.
And I really don't know when the town took that name or when we got the courthouse.
Well, I've got that information in a file. Don't have it with me, but
Okay. Well, we probably bring that up at the next meeting and
Yeah,
stuff. I don't know what it is. But I didn't know whether,
I'm thinking it's about
Scottsburg
1890 or
might have-
91.
yeah.
They might, yeah. I think William H. English's home is still out on the edge of Scottsburg, I think. Where he was from. He's,
Yeah. I think this, the statue is still there
yeah,
and stuff, and whether they would have a record of maybe how it was put up or anything.
well, Scott County, instead of tearing their old poor farm building down, they made a museum out of it. So I'll try to get up that way and find a little more information about that.
I figure maybe have the library contact, have the library up there and see what kind of a record they may have.
That's an idea. Yeah. Okay. I'll
They
follow up.
they probably have someone, a historian that's probably got a record of the statue.
Probably so.
That,
But that's the exact same statue as that we have at English.
yeah, I know it. I've seen pictures of it
Yeah.
and stuff. So I don't know whether his son was the one that was responsible for that or whether he was.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
That, I don't know all of what newspaper was probably in English at the time. I know I had a picture of my dad and someone by the name of Jim Stewart. That was, he took over the newspaper about the same time Dad opened a monument shop, and that was in 1898. What about you Flanigan boys? You know any of Jim Stewart that owned the newspaper there in English?
Ron just came back.
Yeah,
Oh, was that
Yes.
question for me?
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't hear it.
Did you remember Jim Stewart that at one time had the newspaper there in English?
No, I do not remember that.
I have a picture of my dad about the time he opened a monument shop there in 1898.
Yeah.
And Jim Stewart was had the newspaper.
Huh. I don't remember him having that.
I have a picture of both of them together.
Huh. What
But,
paper did he have?
the paper that was published there in English.
Oh, there were three.
But
What year are you talking about?
I'm possibly talking about the early 1900s.
Don't know much about pre-Arthur Flanigan history of the paper.
Oh, okay.
When did Arthur Flanigan take over the paper, John?
Well, I'll give the same answer you did a while ago. I've got the record someplace. I can't.
Oh, okay.
I can't recall it right off my head.
Yeah. Well, a picture of my father and stuff, and it looked like possibly he might have been in his early 20s. And he was about 20 years old when he opened a monument shop.
I certainly remember his monument shop.
Yeah. Yeah, he went, I think when he was 16, he went to Bedford and learned how to cut the stones and come back and opened the first deal in 1898. And Clyde one time told me it was around in a building that was later on Hokey Khan's garage.
Oh,
And later on, when he got the deal from Main Street up there, he got that from the Finch. And Joseph Finch owned that strip of land, I guess, there on Main Street. And that's who Dad bought the lot from, where his monument shop was. Across where, the print shop, the new print shop was right across
Yeah.
the street from Dad's.
Now, Bob, I've heard the story that Clyde taught Monroe how to cut monuments, and he told him, said, "Now, one thing you want to make sure of, you don't want to misspell anything at all." And I believe somehow, some way, Mo misspelled something on a nice granite monument, and that was, I think that was out front. He said, "I want you to always remember this, Monroe. You never make that mistake again." Is that a story that I dreamed up, or is that true?
Well, I don't know, but I remember one that he made, and Ed was the one that picked it out. It was someone from Orleans that was governor over there, and Clyde had misspelled governor.
Oh, gosh.
G-O-V-E-N, yeah, G-O-V-E-N. And Clyde told him about, the cook was fit to be tied.
Yeah, I bet.
But Ed was always into things like that and stuff. But he was always researching something, whether it was about English or something that happened and things. And he wrote a lot about it and stuff, like his Main Street in English and all the book that he had written and stuff. But
Now, Eb knew more about English probably than most anybody. I've read his book, and it's very detailed about what went on in English.
And, we had that one deal about the first log cabin that was built and everything, and where it was moved to and stuff. That,
Was that Sloan's log cabin?
yeah, well, yeah. Mhm.
I think it was.
I think it was Arch's grandfather, maybe, or great grandfather.
Yeah.
And
they built the house around the log cabin, and
and we had caught on fire a couple of times, and we was out there putting out the fire and found out there was log cabin under it. And Kenneth Luckett had a camp down on Little Blue River, close to Archbold Falls, and or not Archbold Falls, but what was the name of that falls down there, Vic? Mill, what mill?
Not Carnes, is it?
Carnes's Mill.
Carnes Mill, yeah.
The log cabin was in there, and had a lot of old names in there, and heard that. Remember, Mattie Moore was Ed Moore's wife.
Yes, sir.
Said she was born in that log cabin
Well,
and stuff. And someone, after Kenneth died, they moved in there. They bought the cabin and came in there and tore it down, and the fireplace and everything. I don't know where they moved it to.
Well, you know, the old George Rogers Clark log cabin burned down about a year or so ago. If you remember that, there's a lot of news in the TV and the newspapers. And it was a very nice old log cabin on the site, near the site where George Rogers Clark built his log cabin. Now, it was an old log cabin that was moved down from Osgood, Indiana. They're looking around now for another log cabin that they could take down and reconstruct on that site. Now, there used to be a lot of log cabin. I know when Patoka Lake came in, a lot of log cabins were taken out of the Patoka Lake Basin by a company from Palmyra. And they sold, I think they sold them all after a while. They reconstructed them and put them up other places. But if you hear of a log cabin for sale, or they're looking for one in Clarksville.
I will check it out. I think we're about to run out of time.
Yep, looks like it.
Looks
Got
like
5
you.
more minutes.
Well,
All right.
Bobby,
You're up.
talk for 5 more minutes.
Yeah. Tell us a story, Bob.
It seems like Vic and I have done all the talking.
No, not all.
Y'all were talking about Civil War veterans. Why I heard the story that my great grandfather, Tim Mason, was a Southern sympathizer, and he spent 6 months in jail because of it during
Oh,
the Civil War.
oh. Now, real quick question. Why were there a lot more Southern sympathizers called Copperheads this side of New Albany? I'm sorry, your side, English side of New Albany, than up on the upper side of New Albany. There were more upriver, were more strong Union men. Downriver, there was quite a few Copperheads.
Yeah.
There's a reason. The reason is the falls of the Ohio. Steamboats, most of the trade from New Albany and Leavenworth and Alton was going downriver toward New Orleans. Well, if the war broke out, they couldn't go downriver. People in Jeffersonville, they built steamboats there too. They could go upriver and trade up to Pittsburgh all the way back down. So that's why there were more Southern sympathizers below on the English side of the falls in the Falls City area.
Yeah.
Just a little historical tidbit there.
Well, also learned that a great grandfather married and had our grandfather, John Mason, and his sister, Bologna, who married a Mason. And then his wife died. He remarried and had a whole bunch of children. And he was carrying the mail from, I think, English to St. Minard. And a horse kicked him in the ribs, punctured his lung, and he died like 4 days later. Well, the Catholic seminary of St. Minard took her in and the kids and raised them.
They used to do that quite a bit. Stuff that there wasn't any place else for them to go usually.
That's right. That's right. All right, guys. Good seeing everybody. Michael Pale, you be careful now. You take care.
All right, Victor Megenity.
All right, Michael.
Okay, Mike. Goodbye.
Bye.
Okay, guys, we'll see you
Bye-bye.
You guys.
next
John.
month.
Okay, it's still